The divine plane is an inhabitant of the Canary Islands who posed as a genuinely undecided flat earth truth seeker, but who very quickly showed his true colors and outed himself as a committed flat earther. He wants to have an open conversation about it, but his mind's already made up. So by open, he really means he wants you to believe him. He recently published a video about his observations of the Armus Ferry and included some commentary that merits a response. Let's see what he has to say.
First, I just want to point out a couple of things that I think are important to this entire debate. Number one, YouTube is starting to openly ban flat Earth, 9/11, and other so-called conspiracies. So for those of you that believe in the globe, if flat Earth was just a silly topic and we were all a bunch of idiots running around making fools out of ourselves, then why ban this? You know, why take these videos off the web? Why start to censor these videos? Just let us make fools out of ourselves. If the Earth is a spinning ball, the truth will come out, and we will all end up looking stupid, those of us who are proving and showing that it's flat.
Andy, you're being a little dramatic here. This is quickly becoming a cause celeb among flat earthers, and they're milking it for all it's worth. While there are legitimate concerns about the impact this action will have on revenue streams for both pro and anti-science creators, we should note that YouTube isn't banning flat earth videos, it's just not promoting them. Being a division of a huge corporation, it's driven in large part by bottom-line considerations. Rather than being threatened by flat earth content, Google probably reviewed its financial projections, consulted with its advertisers, and determined that the continued promotion of conspiracy and anti-science content is not in its long-term financial interest. As a flat earther, this should give you pause. If you believe in the wisdom of markets, then this is saying that conspiracy and anti-science content doesn't appeal to a sufficiently large audience to warrant promotion, and that this audience will either stabilize at current levels or shrink over time. We may have reached peak flurf. Remember also that YouTube is a media company, not a public utility. Its content is developed for free by us. Its product is the eyeballs and attention spans of its viewers, and its audience is its advertisers. The prime directive for every media company is to keep its audience happy. Draw your own conclusions.
There's a lot of information surrounding this debate that I feel a lot of you aren't looking at. Instead, you're just focusing on your mathematical theories and equations, and because everything works on your mathematical model, doesn't matter that it doesn't match reality. As long as the model looks good on paper, you're just content to keep repeating what you've learned. And I think we need to go a little bit further with this and look at what's really going on. So
Andy has an uninformed view of mathematical modeling. Models are tested against reality and adjusted or discarded. They're not formed in a vacuum. Those of you who know how to model something either graphically or mathematically know what I'm talking about. It's obvious he doesn't know this or doesn't care.
So the next point I want to make along those lines is this guy Don Pettit, the so-called NASA astronaut. You're all familiar with him. He said, "I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to have it, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again." He actually said those words. Now, for those of you who believe that we live on the globe, a spinning ball flying through a void of nothingness, do you actually believe what this guy is saying about the moon? That we went 40 years ago, or however long it's been at this point, but we can't go back? We went to the moon with technology that was worse than today's iPhone, and today we have things like quantum computing, and we can't put the technology back together to go back to the moon again. I mean, really? Do you actually believe this, those of you who think we live on the globe and buy into their model? So of course, the next logical step in human spaceflight is to return to the moon. You see, that's logical. That would be the next logical step, to return to the moon. Unfortunately, since we no longer have that technology, 1960s technology to get there, It's a painfully time-consuming and expensive process. Gosh. But hey, we're going to Mars. So let's not take the next logical step and go back to the moon. Let's just kind of skip over that and go to Mars, even though we can't really go to the moon. But we're going to go to Mars.
Back in the days before the advent of magnetic storage, the Burroughs Corporation made computers that used paper tape to store data. I'm sure there were others. We still have businesses to run. Why can't we just use paper tape? Well, we don't have the equipment to read paper tape anymore, certainly not in a production environment. There may be a computer museum somewhere that houses equipment that could read it. Maybe Unisys has a reader that still works. This is the same issue with NASA. We've moved on from the relatively primitive technology of the late 60s. Everything is highly miniaturized now and much more susceptible to disruption by cosmic rays. Shielding and redundancy have to be that much better. Our risk appetite has changed from the 60s when we were racing with the Soviets to get to the moon first. Using an antique on the road or on your desktop is one thing. Flying one to the moon is another. Also, why would going to the moon be the next logical step? Might be logical to you, Andy, but you're just a beach bum from the Canary Islands. What do you know about NASA's priorities? Maybe if you were less dismissive of the organization and understood the plan, you might have a different opinion. But that would require actual work, and it's much more pleasant to photograph the scenery from a sunny beach than pore over strategic planning documentation. I get it. Also, at some point, he mentions cognitive dissonance. He has no clue what cognitive dissonance means. It's become a buzz phrase for flat earthers that has lost all connection to its true meaning.
Now, when presented with a picture of the planet Pluto, NASA actually gives you the dog, Pluto, on this planet. This is real. This is what they showed you. And you bought it. You swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. Okay? Now back to Don Pettit's previous quote, the only limit to our future is our imagination. Yeah, you're damn right it's imagination. They put Pluto on their CGI ball planet of Pluto, and you buy it. Come on. I mean, you got to wake up just a little bit here to see how fooled you've been by NASA. This is the kind of crap that they give you, and you eat it up. Why? Why? And for those of you that don't see clearly, here's Pluto, just a little bit more clearly so you can see what NASA is feeding you and what you are so willingly devouring.
Pareidolia is a poor basis to draw conclusions from. Many people saw the smooth part of Pluto as part of a heart. Andy sees Pluto, the Disney character, because it fits his narrative.
Okay, and that takes me to the Earth. We all know that it's Photoshop, but wait. Of course it has to be. With modern technology, there's no way we could go out and get a good shot of the Earth. That would just be too difficult, so it's got to be CGI, right? Just like the planets they give you and putting Pluto on those planets, just like all the other little games they play with putting in secret little hidden symbols on their CGI Earth spinning ball planets. So you buy this. Why?
This is an argument from utter ignorance. Dude, don't be ignorant. Most of the photos we get back from satellites aren't postcard-ready shots of Earth suitable for framing. Satellites costing millions of dollars aren't put in space to satisfy a flat earther's need for proof of the shape of the Earth. Sorry, but that's you not understanding anyone's priorities but your own. That equipment is up there to study the Earth's atmosphere and weather, its magnetic and gravitational fields, and so on. NASA has a communications division that is charged with making some of its data available to the public and, frankly, to drum up support for its mission. So it produces material that informs the public, who are the ultimate stakeholders in its work, and hopefully inspires it to support NASA in the next round of federal budgeting.
And you got to realize that the CGI just doesn't match up here. Every time you get a new CGI picture of a planet, of Earth especially, the continents, the size is out of proportion. People say, oh, they're zooming in and zooming out. No, no, no. The proportion, the size of the continents is constantly changing. So that's not an excuse. When we get these so-called live pictures, the clouds are not moving over a 24-hour period. There's so many things wrong with these pictures. If you're willing to actually look at it and consider it and go look at what this astronaut Don Pettit is telling you, that we've been to the moon, oops, lost the technology, can't go back, but we're going to Mars. And you believe that. You've got to look at all this and consider it, before you even start to get into these observations.
The correct answer to why the proportions change is indeed that there are different cameras using different focal lengths producing those photos. Even Rob Skiba, an admitted flat earther, showed how this works. But this doesn't work for you, Andy, because it goes against your narrative. Why let facts get in the way of your indignation? Maybe you shouldn't be drawing conclusions about the shape of the Earth from your photographs if you don't know how cameras work. The other funny thing is this call to really think about and consider stuff. Don't be lazy. What are we supposed to consider? That you don't know how to analyze a strategic plan? That you don't know how large corporations think? That you don't know about the impact of focal length on image characteristics? That just because you see an image in a photo, that doesn't mean it's actually there? That's what I'm considering when I hear you blather on about your pathetic conspiracy theories.
Let's go to my observation. You can see here's the swell height from yesterday when I took this observation, and you can see here around my island it was about a meter of swell. That was what I judged from my eye level at the beach, about a meter of swell. So this is actually really important because we know that swells in the foreground, if they're a meter high, they're going to block some of the bottom of the boat that's 12, 13 kilometers away. Do we agree on this? If there are swells, they're going to appear bigger in the foreground, right? And they're going to block out a boat that's much smaller, visibly speaking, much further away. I hope this makes sense, okay? That impacts the fact that we can't see the boat skimming along the water, but we can see the boat just barely above the waterline. And swells are the reason why, okay? And angular resolution of the eye, but we don't even need to go there. We can just look at the swells. It's a very logical explanation for why we don't see the very bottom of the boat, okay? So here's a GPS shot of the boat that I was following. Keep in mind that this is the passenger ferry Tirahana, and the paint job here in this picture is old because it's gotten a new paint job. As you'll see on these pictures, it's red and white, but it's the same boat. I've verified it, learned from my mistakes, and I try not to put information out there that I know is false, unlike a lot of other people that I see out there on YouTube putting out information they know to be false and then continuing with that information, which I think is just, not right.
I'll leave the analysis of your actual observations to Ruhif and others who are better at that. Just a couple of quick notes. You continue to present marginal data as proof of your position, even after you've been advised to take photos from widely varying vantage points to better rule out refraction and error. Nope, you'd actually have to climb a hill and all the pretty girls are at the water's edge. Come on, dude. Pull on your boots and climb a hill for the next set of photos. What are you afraid of? Also, you use GPS to locate the ferry? Yo, Andy, that whooshing sound is the irony flying over your head. You're also worried about putting out bad information, which is just precious. I really appreciate your concern about the truth value of your utterances. Pity that concern only manifests itself 3/4 of the way through the video.